Hi, I'm Dr. Bernard Starr with an update on the failing war on climate change. At the conclusion of the latest UN International Conference on Climate Change in Belém, Brazil, on the outskirts of the Brazilian rainforest, journalists expressed despair as they heard the same familiar calls for action repeated year after year, despite overwhelming evidence that these strategies have failed. CO2 levels are at record highs, and global temperatures continue to rise relentlessly. When will climate leaders acknowledge that governments, corporations, and the public preoccupied with daily survival cannot turn the tide on climate change? How much tragedy will it take to arouse the world to face the truth and prioritize climate change? When will they grasp the reality of no planet, no fossil fuel, no planet, no jobs, no planet, no ballroom, no planet, no eggs? A fundamentally new strategy, such as the one outlined in this article, is urgently needed. The title is COP30 Climate Conference, Groundhog Day, Al Gore, and Déjà Vu. After viewing many of the streamed panel discussions at COP30, the 10-day UN Climate Conference in Brazil that began on November 10, 2025, I was struck by an overwhelming sense of Groundhog Day, the same cycle repeating year after year. Many journalists attending the conference despairingly reached the same conclusion. Once again, the panels called for setting agendas, more data, more programs, more commitments, and more funding for efforts that have consistently failed to halt climate change. That repetition triggered a powerful déjà vu moment. I was reminded of an article I wrote in 2008 addressed to Al Gore, whose groundbreaking 2006 film, An Inconvenient Truth, warned of the existential threat that climate change posed. In that article, I urged the creation of a Manhattan Project-style entity, independent of governments, to develop technologies capable of actually stopping climate change once scaled to full commercial deployment. At that time, I believed Al Gore was uniquely positioned with the public trust and global stature to catalyze such an initiative. It's the same program I advanced in my November 3rd op-ed news article, and later the expanded YouTube version, and one still available to Al Gore and other visionary leaders. I now regret not raising the idea directly to Al Gore during a conversation with him at a climate program on September 18, 2015, at Union Theological Seminary in New York City. Isn't it time to pivot to a new path, one that finally breaks the cycle of Groundhog Day and Déjà Vu? Here is my article first published in United Press International's Religion and Spirituality section in 2008. It's titled, Al Gore, This is Your Destiny. The pace is quickening. The momentum is building. Full-page ads in the New York Times regularly propose bold initiatives for alternative fuel sources. The pain of outrageous oil prices is waking up the public to the urgent need for inexpensive alternative energy. Although there's less public interest in the environmental catastrophe we are facing from fossil fuel pollution, individuals and the business world are poised to embrace dramatic action to ease the crunching economic burden of rising fuel costs. So we have a rare opportunity to seize the moment to develop new technologies while saving the planet from possible destruction. We need an Energy Manhattan Project, and we need it now. Al Gore's moving speech on July 17th in Constitutional Hall in Washington, D.C., urging John McCain and Barack Obama to embrace a crash program to get 100% of our nation's electricity from renewable and clean energy sources within 10 years has roused Move On. The National Political Action Group circulated a nationwide petition demanding that Congress act on Al Gore's proposal. As of this writing, Move On has accumulated over 150,000 signatures. Undoubtedly, they will ultimately gather millions of backers. Who wouldn't want a cheaper alternative fuel and conservation measures to lower the price at the pumps? Will this strategy work and finally prod Congress to crank out a serious energy policy? Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi thinks so. She said that if sufficient numbers demand action, Congress will get behind the proposal. This sounds encouraging, but reading between the lines, Pelosi's statement is depressing and screams out, "Keep the Energy Manhattan Project out of the hands of Congress." On the heels of An Inconvenient Truth and the continuous flow of scientific data and warnings on the catastrophe we are facing, if members of Congress need an electrical prod of signatures to wake them up from their slumber to take action on avoiding a planetary disaster, they are the wrong body to shepherd the Energy Manhattan Project. Their lethargy suggests that the project placed in their hands will fall victim to special interests, lobbying pressures, pork barrel concessions, and a never-ending list of hanky-panky maneuvers that will deflate the program and steer it off course. Most likely, it would be limited to existing alternative technologies and would not explore out-of-the-box thinking. It will not fulfill Al Gore's vision. As I stated in an earlier article, in the politicized and monetized legislative arena, the Energy Manhattan Project would get mired down, watered down, or hijacked, if not vaporized. The title of Lee Iacocca's book says it all. Where have all the leaders gone? Congress doesn't need more information or petitions. It needs leadership. Are our representatives so far out of touch with reality that they need signatures to act on one of the greatest crises of our times? Is Congress telling us that without the signatures, the public might balk at a bold, meaningful energy policy to reduce dependence on foreign oil, bring down fuel prices, and introduce clean alternative energy sources? Make no mistake about it, what Nancy Pelosi is really revealing about the congressional club that she knows well is that Congress is riddled with self-interest and special interests. At best, they will grudgingly introduce limp measures that offer a few bare bones to quell the public outcry for action while they do business as usual. That's why Al Gore, a true leader who is here, not gone, should initiate the Energy Manhattan Project outside of government. Al Gore uniquely has the credibility, understanding, compassion, commitment, and trust to do it right. And why not make it a planetary project? Get support and contributions from governments, especially the non-oil producing nations, but restrict them from management. Add to that foundations, philanthropists, and just ordinary citizens across the globe who want to participate in a one-world energy project to ensure the longevity of the planet and a proud legacy for future generations. The Planetary Energy Project might just ignite a long-sought-after one-world vision and unity, globalization that will serve everyone. If I may be so bold, Al Gore, this project is your destiny and legacy. Carry the torch, and they will follow. Don't give away your dream. That was 2008. Now, back to the present. And here we are today, in the same place. Oh no, a worse place. Planetary conditions are worse, continuing to deteriorate, and we are still waiting for a savior to step forward and initiate a strategy independent of governments, corporations, and the public, with the power and resources to scale technologies to full commercial functionality that can halt climate change in time to beat the haunting ticking of the climate change doomsday clock.